If you're new to this channel, this is where we talk about property investing, share smart investing strategies, and anything property related. So if you haven't already, make sure you hit subscribe, smash that like button. All right, now let's get into today's question. Question from Joseph. There's been a lot of talk about migration. What impact is this happening on property? Thanks for that question, Joseph. Let's get into that one. So you're right, there absolutely has been loads of talk in the media about it. Particularly, I think Ben Fordham from 2GB in Sydney, he came out and made a talk that we're bringing in, 1,500 immigrants a day. I don't know about anybody else watching, but for me, when I see that kind of picture of our Prime Minister, I just get Elmer Fudd vibes. And I'm not saying whether I'm a Labor or a Liberal man, but he gives me the Elmer Fudd vibes. But I guess unpacking that a little bit, let's not get drawn into the hysteria of the number. Let's actually work backwards and see if that's just hyperbole or if that's true, and I guess what the impact would be from those numbers if they're remotely close. So I guess firstly, if we take a look, so I like to reference kind of March 2020 as pre-COVID. That's kind of when COVID kicked in, late March. And our population at that point was at 25.6 million. Now, end of COVID, unless you were based in Victoria or Melbourne like myself, for most of the country, end of COVID was March 2022. So when we got to that point, the population was just over 25.9 million. So we grew by 300,000. So we know we weren't really allowing people to come in or out, or they're allowed to go out, obviously. But most of that growth is probably just internal population growth. Funny, if you have a look at the data line by line, there's a fair bit of a spike, COVID babies potentially, people locked up for a bit of a period as well. But if we take a bit more of a deeper look, if we go from March 2022 to December 2023, so just under 2 years there, we had 1 million people uplift from there. So that's when we opened the gates back up. People were allowed to flood in. We had an underemployment issue, which we still do, by the way. So we had a skills issue, so we're bringing back in. We are trying to drive up our GDP. So unfortunately, technically, we're in a recession in terms of per capita per head. But as a bulk number, what we're doing is we're driving in population, skilled professionals, so they can go to work, fill these spots, and then we can tax them and we can make more tax dollars. That's I guess, this current government's rightly or wrongly. I'm not really here to say whether it's right or wrong. I'm not an economist, but that's the model that we're rolling with right now. And we had about 1 million population growth. But if we take a look from December 2023 to December 2024, we went from 26.9 million to 27.4 million. So we had another big spike over that 5-year period. We're just under 1.8 million since the start of COVID till the end of 2024. And I guess if we look at the natural increase numbers versus the net migration numbers from that same period, we can kind of see the natural increase has been around 30,000 a quarter. So let's just call it 10,000 a month. Then from a migration level, it's been about 65,000 a quarter. So 22,000 a month. But when we take a look at that 2024 period, there's absolutely a massive ramp up stage. So the last quarter has grown by 91,000. So we're talking about over 30,000 people each and every month. So we're not quite really at that 1,500 number, but we're not hugely off it. We're more around that kind of 1,000, 1,100. And I mean, if we take a look as well at our projected population, so if we look at 2025, we're projected to be about 27.5 million. We get to 2035, bit of a jump here, 4.5 million. We go to 32 million. And if we go to 2045, we're up to 36 million. And then we get to 2055, we're up to just under 40 million. So it's not really projected to have a big slowdown on the growth front. And I guess the impact that's happening from the property side, we are at a critical shortage. If we go back through our history, unfortunately, from the property data side of things, really, only the last 20, 30-ish years do you have some kind of semblance of, multitude of categories of data. But we're seeing crazy lines. So there was a article online the other day for I think it was a 2-bedroom unit in Osborne, it might have been, in Perth, and 92 people were lined up for this rental property. So if we take a look, vacancy rates. So if for those of you watching who aren't familiar with what vacancy rates are, vacancy rates is if we have 100 properties on the rental market and we've got 5 of them available, we would have a 5% vacancy rate. Now, I guess historically, what has kind of been seen as even balance in the force between landlord and renter has been 3%. So if we have 3% kind of even balance numbers, if we're lower than that, the power maybe lies more with the landlord because he's got a commodity there's not much supply of it. So he's got more, push and pull on the pricing side of things. Where we are right now, so we can kind of see historically from, let's just go to say 2016, 2017, we were around the kind of 2.5% number. You go to different outlets, the vacancy rate can swing 0.5% here or there, but 2 to high 2s, let's call it. Where we're at right now, we are at just under 1.2%, and it's been pretty much that level since 2022. So we're pretty much talking about only 1 in every 100 properties are available for rent. And if we take some other factors into it, so we've got a population boom, which is not anticipated to slow down, then we're building less dwellings than we were in 2018. We're building them slower than we've ever built them. And something to keep in mind as well, because we could go back and say, we've got these buildings happening. Not all of these building approvals actually go to completion. But then you've got to factor in that not all of these building approvals are for new home builds. Probably when I've done my own research and dug into the numbers, around about 12 to 13% of these properties are from, demolished properties or decommissioned properties. So realistically, you've got to take, let's call it 10 to 13% of these dwellings. So when I've ran the numbers, we've got a shortage. We're going to continue to have a shortage. So my fear, and I guess when I look at things at a real basic level of supply and demand, we've got a lot of demand. Population growth isn't slowing down. And I mean, we've had this government, win their election recently by an absolute landslide. And what that basically tells me, their model is bring in more people to the country, raise GDP. Now, they've got 3 years or the best part of 3 years to run that model. They're probably going to win the next election as well because they won by such a margin, and they'll probably run that exact same, model in the next 3 years after that. So we're talking about 6 years. We're planning on just flooding the gates with migration even further. But what's going to compound that problem of having more demand than supply is we also have a huge skill issue on the building side, because a lot of these builders, firstly, there's not enough of them in general, but they're getting drawn into the large infrastructure projects. They're not getting into the residential space, and then you've had building increases, the costs that is, so that's now up 50% plus post-COVID, and then the building time's taking longer. So if we try and remove ourselves of bias. If you have anything where it costs more to make it, takes longer to make it, there's more demand than there is supply, in history, whatever commodity it is or whatever type of product you're going to go buy, you're going to pay a premium price, right? So that's, where we're going to see that going moving forward. But thanks again for watching today's video. If you haven't already, make sure you hit subscribe, smash that like button, and we will catch you on the next one. Bye for now.